In this POV street photography video, I'll be walking around the city for 2 whole days with this epic new camera. Right, so we've got a really cool window scene shot of a barber's here. We've got lights around the mirrors, we've got reflections in the window, and of course the barber.
Without a circular polarizing filter, you have to be careful where you place those reflections so as to not distract from the main point of focus.
Right, so again, best advice when you're in photography is always to look behind you. This is the shot I just took of the barbers, but directly behind me is a shot of the city, and we've got some of these old buildings, and it's a really moody scene with the sky. Love that kind of mix of old and new buildings together in one shot.
So I've set my focus point on the flowers and crates, which is throwing the foreground nicely out of focus at f4. And here's someone coming into the scene. Here's that 16-bit color depth on show from Hasselblad with rich tones and contrast.
So here's an old phone box in Spitalfields Market. Let's just increase the ISO to 1600 and using arbitrary focus tracking to grab on and reframe the phone box.
A gentleman passerby just adds a touch of human interest into the scene.
So for the next couple of days, I'll be using one of Hasselblad's latest lenses, the 35 to 100mm XCD lens. Not the most user-friendly as a street photographer, it's quite big and bulky, but my God is this thing sharp, and it's very useful having that reach.
Oh, hello, Mr. Pigeon. Interesting scene of an old guy relaxing on a deck chair here. Taken at the full 100mm f4.5 and 500th of a second.
Right, so I'm going to set myself a little mini photo challenge right in the city of London. This is a place called Bank. I'm going to choose like a 50-meter radius and go varying focal lengths and varying compositions, see if I can come up with some magic. Right, I think I've spotted a composition already. Right, so I'm going with 45mm for this shot, just shooting below this statue and trying to frame this lamppost just in the sky. And then of course that flag is just starting to fly. Everything's coming together. We've got a moody sky in the background.
An aperture of f11 and focusing on the horse statue offers us a perfectly sharp image right through to the buildings in the background.
Right, so I found a second composition. This one is going to be with 100mm, focusing on that lamppost with the city in the background. It's really lit up like a jewel at the minute behind that grey sky.
Rather than focus on the lamppost, instead I opted to focus on the buildings in the back as they were so impressively lit against the clouds.
Now, I'm not entirely sure I like the blue sky in this image, but if we convert it to a black and white, the contrast between the blue and the clouds could end up being very dramatic.
Preferring to keep the image in color but desaturate and push the contrast slightly to add drama to this more abstract photo.
Okay, this could work. So we're at 1/6 of a second here, should create some nice motion blur on this gentleman walking about.
With a full frame equivalent of 28mm, we can just about manage these epic architectural structures found near Liverpool Street.
So Spitalfields Market having a little Strictly Ballroom moment here.
Even with an ISO of 800, this new lens offers some impressive resolution when zoomed in to 200% on the manuscript.
Now, because this camera has a new IBIS system of 10 stops on a 5-axis construction, it opens up a whole new world of creativity for handheld slow shutter speed images.
This image was taken with a shutter speed of 1.3 seconds, and the static objects remain completely sharp and focused.
Right, so day 2 of this epic street photography adventure. Weather's going to be changeable, some wind, rain, and bright sunshine, which is not ideal, but hey, That's what you get for living in the UK.
Found quite an abstract shot here, shooting through the telephone box. Unbeknownst to me at the time, I inadvertently captured a reflection shot within this image. Zoomed all the way into 100mm here, lady in a summer hat posing for me. Perfect.
So one thing that is absolutely crucial for capturing fleeting moments in street photography is a good autofocus system, and thankfully this new Hasselblad X2DII has probably the most useful tool called arbitrary focus tracking, meaning it can grab onto any moving subject and follow it with continuous focusing, ready for you to fire the shutter.
So same composition here, slightly different subject, laid with flowers. So I found this street artist taking a breather on the South Bank. Slightly better composition directly overhead, really exhibits her back tattoo nicely. I found a nice simple composition here. This was one of my favorite images because of its simplicity and complementary colors. The wide-angle shot of this staircase shows the versatility of the 35 to 100mm XCD lens. So old classic street scene here, just needs that human touch, and there it is. So I thought I'd throw in an extra long exposure shot here. I have a 10-stop ND filter attached, which should give me an exposure time of 25 seconds. F16 and that all-important 2-second timer so we don't wobble the camera. Opting for a black and white conversion to give the image a more fine art quality. Using a touch of framing composition technique here by placing the gentleman as close to center as possible. Again, using that arbitrary focus tracking to see how it handles obstructions like water fountains. Miraculously, I was able to maintain focus on the mother and daughter even through the water feature.
Here's someone now. Ready? There you go.
The new auto-focusing system on the X2DII makes it possible to track and follow fast-moving subjects like people, cars, and pets.
So if any of you saw my previous video about the Hasselblad X2DII, I touched upon a subject called HDR, and it can be an incredibly powerful tool. Here's a quick demo on how all of this works.
Taking identical images with exactly the same exposure settings using the HEIF file format, one with just the standard dynamic range and the other turning on HDR, we can see just how much more information has been captured in the HDR image without any editing adjustments. Viewing these images on HDR capable monitors like the back screen of the camera itself, or Mac displays, iPads and iPhones, using the Focus Mobile 2 app shows even more definition in those highlighted areas when we toggle on and off HDR image editing. We also have Hasselblad native editing tools within the Focus app, where we can make adjustments and export high-resolution JPEGs with or without HDR enabled, which eliminates the dependency on editing platforms like Adobe Lightroom. I'm going to leave you with some final street images using the Hasselblad and the 35 to 100mm, and say a big thanks to you guys for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more photography content. I'll see you on the flip side.